all your school rugby, all in one place. This is NextGenXV.
Alright guys, welcome to NextGenXV, and we have another schools rugby update for you. So, been another interesting week of rugby. Some results we saw coming, some we definitely did not see coming, and we'll be discussing all of that today. So if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to click that subscribe button as well as bell notification, and as soon as new videos are released, you'll be the first to know. So in terms of the topics for today, first we're going to take a look at the results overview, just briefly go through some results. Then we'll do some match analysis on the matches that we were able to watch this weekend. Remember, we only really do these videos on a Sunday, so we try and watch 3 to 5 games if possible, but sometimes there are time constraints, so we manage to watch 3 games. Then we'll discuss some upcoming fixtures, and then obviously go through the top 10 at the end. Once the Australian and New Zealand school seasons kick off, we'll obviously include their games in here as well, like we did about 2 years ago when there's still rugby going on. And of course we will be including the English schools update as soon as we have an idea on when the season will continue 100%. But let's get into the today's video. And we'll start with the Eastern Central region. Maritzburg College, a very nice win over DHS, 34 points to 10. Historic rivalry there, so great win for Maritzburg. They're looking really, really good this year. Can't wait to see a bit more of them once they start encountering more difficult opposition, but I think this is a talented team. Michael House beating Kearsney. I don't know, you could call it an upset. I think a lot of people expected quite a bit from Kearsney this year, and Michael House were very under the radar. But fantastic win there for Michael House, 26 points to 24. Hilton having quite a dominant win over Northwood, 31-6. You will remember that we thought them and Glenwood were going to be the dominant schools in the Eastern Conference this year, so to speak, our unofficial conference. And Glenwood 13-3 win over Westville. So Westville Northwood recently played. Westville won that game, not very comfortably, but pretty comfortably. And it looks like it's going to be an interesting game between Hilton and Glenwood. But Westville have the quality to really come to the fore this year. They've got some very outstanding individual talent, so we'll wait to see what happens there. St. Charles with a nice win over Clifton, 27 points to 18. Fort Track beating Grootveld, 34-14. And then Landbouwdal beating Central 20 points to 10. Moving on to the northern region, Mon is having a great win over Waterkloof 24-14. You're starting to feel that Mon are coming into the end of the season, and Gasfontein, an amazing comeback, showing a lot of character after that massive loss to Paarl Gym, beating Hartius Middelburg, who are no slouches this year, 48-0. Ege Janssen, nice win over Noordheuvel, 26 points to 3. And Marais Viljoen beating Helpmekaar 32-31. Helpmekaar having quite a disappointing season this year. I think being a centenary year, they expected quite a bit more for the boys, but it's still early in the season. You never know what can happen later on. Ben Foster, nice win over Petersburg, 28 points to 5. This team has got a bit of potential, and they've got some very interesting playmakers. You just felt if they could get their discipline sorted, they could get some great results. So good to see that. Uffies versus Kes, 15 points to 11 to Uffies. Very tight game there. Keep a very close eye on Bronson Mills at fly-off, guys. A lot of people are talking about him. Very interesting player. Kes were missing 1 or 2 key players, amongst them Kelly Mpeku, who's a very special talent. That was a great result for Uffies. I mean, hopefully they're getting their confidence up and can start challenging the top tier as they should be. And I think Kes will draw a lot of inspiration from the result as well. Nelspruit against Menlo Park, 21-all. A very interesting team, this Nelspruit team. We're going to definitely be covering a number of their talented players in a series coming soon. We'll give you more details when that comes out. Middelburg, big win over Ermelo, 43-7 in the Mpumalanga area. Ermelo having been an absolute powerhouse many years ago, obviously going through some tough times in their rugby program, and hopefully we can see them come back. Centurion against Vanderboom, 40 points to 3, nice win over there for Centurion in the Pretoria derby. Klerksdorp beating Transvaal 26-12. Transvaal, one of the dominant teams in the Vaal Triangle, so Klerksdorp will obviously be very happy with that result. Good for their program. And then take a look at this, guys. Rustenburg continued. Their surprise season as a surprise packages, dark horses, whatever you want to call them. Big win over Pretoria Boys, and then beating Volcom Gym 33 points to 32. And Volcom Gym have got a very, very strong players this year, but you're wondering what's happening behind the scenes in terms of the team dynamic, because individually there's nothing wrong there, but they just can't seem to be stringing the results together, unfortunately. Montana, nice win over Dianker, 29-27, and then finally Jeppe beating Rand Park Ridge 33 points to 7. I believe Jeppe were meant to play Pretoria Boys, but unfortunately, due to the COOF pandemic, they unfortunately had to pull out as far as I'm aware. So nice win over there for the boys from Jeppe. Continued in the northern region, Westwood having a nice win over Swartkop, 42-21. St. Stithians, nice win over St. David's in a private school Joburg derby there, 51 points to 18. St. Albans beating Trinity House 36-19. Wittenberg, very nice win over Alderaan, 47-7. And then finally Northcliffe securing a nice victory over St. Benedict's, 15 points to 12. Moving on to the southern region, Grens beating Dale 22-20. If any statisticians are around there, guys that know the history of Dale College rugby, let us know, because I think this will have to be the first time in absolute ages that Grens managed to beat Dale. So I think that's quite a big surprise over there. Brandwag absolutely decimating Muir, 48 points to 12 in the Uitenhage derby. Brandwag going from strength to strength as a rugby program, and Muir unfortunately falling a bit by the wayside, but they still do produce some very outstanding players, individual players, and we just hope they can continue to produce great players and hopefully pull it together to create a good team in the near future. And then Grey High School, they meet their bogey team again. St. Andrews beating them 26-23. It's crazy. I mean, I think anyone would have thought that Grey High would have beaten St. Andrews this year, but it's been a long time. I think it's 5 or 6 years in a row that St. Andrews have beaten Grey High. So St. Andrews are definitely Grey High School's bogey team, and it puts them in a good position to perhaps be crowned regional champions later on this year. Queens losing to Selborne 32 points to 10. As an age group, I believe that Queens actually beat the Selborne team, so it just goes to show you the amount of effort that goes into coaching and developing in Selborne, that they come back for this. Outstanding performance there in that border derby, a historical derby, one of the top derbies in the country. Marlow continuing their great run of form in the Eastern Cape region, the Southern region, with a 29 points to 5 win over Nico Milan from Hemelsdorp. And then Graham beating Port Rex, very tight game there, 19-15. And finally Pearson having a dominant victory over Hemelsdorp, 63 points to 0. Moving on to the Western region, Drosti, absolutely wonderful win for them over Boland Landbou, 26-19. Looks like that program is really developing nicely there, and they're getting some just reward. Wynberg winning the Southern Suburb derby over Rondebosch, 19 points to 5. Great win there for the boys from Wynberg. Then Durbanville having a tight victory over Paarl Gym, 22 points to 14. And then finally Oakdale continuing their rich vein of form with a 33 points to 19 victory over Stellenberg. And the Oakdale sort of train keeps on going. And Stellenberg have got a very good team this year, so it just goes to show you how exceptional Oakdale are this year, 33-19. And they're going to have some. They're going to have some great performances this year, because I think there's a lot of expectation around this team, and hopefully we'll be able to catch some of their fixtures later on this year. And then the first game we'll look at is Grey College's victory over Paarl Boys, 37-3. Guys, I don't know about you, but I don't think anybody saw this coming. This was to say this was a shock result. I think that downplays it in a way. Unfortunately, I got stuck at the waterfront yesterday, so I wasn't able to see the game, so I just finished it on catch-up. And, if you take a look at the scoreboard, you say 37-3, which is an absolute thrashing on paper, etc., etc., but I don't believe the score is a fair reflection on the game, and it's so strange to say it when you take a look at the score, winning by 34 points and saying that's not a fair reflection, but I don't think it was a fair reflection. So let's start off with Grey College. They were absolutely outstanding. Okay, that goes without saying. They really performed well, and I think their key players really stepped up. I mean, Jean also is an absolutely fantastic player, guys. I think he's very underappreciated, and I really think he's one of the best young props in the country right now. The work this guy puts in is just immense. You just can't believe a prop can actually put in that much work on the field. He's all over the place. He's a prop that plays like a loose forward. His scrumming technique is amazing. I can't speak highly enough of this young player. He's really, really put his hands up in this fixture. Then Mava Willifie had a giant game as well. He was always willing to get stuck in physically and, go after his opposition. He was immense as well. And then, in cricket, the term captain's innings is often applied. I thought today Niels Valschenk had a captain's innings. I think he was absolutely outstanding. When I saw a leader on that field, I saw a general on that field leading his troops into battle, and he led from the front. And I mean, he's just grown into the role. He's a very, very special talent, Niels is. He's a very special talent. He's got a calm demeanor. He doesn't shout and scream and shout the odds and all the rest of it. He leads by example with his play, and you can see that his troops really, really respect him as a player. I can't speak highly enough of Niels. And I have to be honest, I don't like to criticize players, but I think in that first game against Paarl Gym, I really didn't think that he was that impressive, and I think he'll admit that as well. I think he made a couple of mistakes. There was a bit of confusion. I think he was probably disappointed in his performance, and it's just like to come back from, like, same as John Smith, like the two of them, to go from like a performance against Paarl Gym that wasn't their best. I'm not saying they were terrible. They just didn't look like they had the confidence and the belief in themselves. But that all changed in this game. I really think this game is the game that completely turned around Grey College's season. And maybe they needed that loss. Maybe they needed that loss against Paarl Gym to jolt them into action, say, listen, we come from an outstanding school. We come from an outstanding rugby culture. But, that doesn't guarantee you a victory. You have to lead from the front, and you have to work hard, and you have to play by example. And Caleb Abrahams and John Smith as a halfback combo were absolutely outstanding. The open side flank, I think it is Meyer. What a special kid as well. Very, very immense player. Like Caleb and John just complement each other so well. I think they're going to be an absolutely immense outfit as the season goes on. John's kicking was perfect. I mean, you think about his kicking in the Paarl Gym game compared to now, it's chalk and cheese. I mean, the kid is playing with a lot of confidence, and it's like, they call soccer the beautiful game, but when you see like performances like this, rugby is actually the beautiful game. All shapes and sizes, able to play to the ability of their talent, and like really allowed to shine. I thought it was just absolutely outstanding. Gert Steyn has come into his own as a fullback as well. I don't know, it's weird. Like, I can't imagine him not being a centre, and when I see him as a fullback now, I can't imagine him going back to centre. I love him at fullback, because when he's got space, he's just immense. He just knows where to run. He knows where to go. His spatial awareness is fantastic. He just had an outstanding game. Alfonso Isaac was outstanding. And I hate to point out individuals necessarily, because I really think in terms of the great performances was a team effort. Everybody came together in terms of the team effort. And then if we move on to Paul Boys, I don't think they were terrible. I don't think they were as bad as the score suggests. I don't think they were 34 points behind Grey in terms of their talent. It's just one of these freak results where nothing went right for the guys. I mean, there were so many times where they were basically on the try line and then they didn't manage to execute, or they would make there was a lot of silly unforced errors on their part, very silly stuff, and it's growing pains, because they are an exceptional outfit, and we must remember these are schoolboys. They're still learning. This is what makes the school game so interesting to watch, because they're allowed to play with freedom. They're allowed to play creative rugby, and they're encouraged to make mistakes, because this is like the step up. They're going to step up next year to become professionals, and then they have to play according to structure much more. But this is definitely a time of their lives where they can really play with an express their talent, so to speak. And I thought, like, for example, Kutsia Leroux in the first 10 minutes was absolutely immense. What a player he was. I mean, he was all over the place. And, like a lot of guys I've spoken to said as soon as he went off the field, the whole game changed. I don't think so. Look, they definitely missed him. They don't be left in any doubt. They definitely missed him. You would miss a player of this quality. I mean, who wouldn't miss a player of that quality? But to say that the whole team collapsed because he left the field, I don't think there was a case. I don't even think there was a collapse. I just think there was unforced errors. I think the ball sometimes just simply didn't bounce their way. And, sometimes the ball would bounce Grey's way and it wouldn't bounce for Paarl Boys. The difference is Grey would score a try and Paarl Boys wouldn't score a try in that sort of scenario. I don't look at any players in that team and think to myself like, yeah, that guy didn't deserve to be in the team, or he was absolutely weak, or he was the reason why Paul Boys lost the game. I don't see it like that. I just see it as absolutely atrocious luck a lot of the time, and not making most of the opportunities. There was nothing wrong in terms of the coaching tactics, in my opinion. Remember, this is all opinion based. I don't think there was much wrong in terms of like the tactics, the selections. I think the difference might have been in terms of the playing personnel. The difference might have been that Gray's key players really stood up, whereas Paul Boys' key players probably didn't stand up as much. If that's something to it. Also remember that this Paul Boys team is missing Hakim Kunene and Hanno Wessels, for example, and those are two guys that are easily Craven Week material and possibly even SS Schools material. So when you start missing players at that ability, it does affect it, but it's definitely not an excuse. I'm not saying you put Hakim and Hanno on the field and they win the game. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying there's things to consider. And my point about mentioning that is that if you take a look at Gray, they don't, for the good last couple of years, guys, they haven't had major injury crisis. They haven't had many problems. So you could even say there might be a conditioning thing that Paul Boys need to look at. I don't know. I don't know what goes on internally. I'm just some guy on YouTube that comments on what he sees, and then hopefully, be able to speak to guys and get their opinions on things. But that's pretty much what I saw. I think it was a case of conditioning, taking advantage of the opportunities, and the key players really standing up and leading from the front. I think that's what it's about. But in terms of the 37-3 result in a 34 point margin of victory, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I just didn't see it like that. I don't think Gray with 34 points better. 10 points better, yeah, 12 points better, yeah, maybe we start talking. So maybe like a fair result in a way would have been like something like 30 points to 18, for example, or something like that. And then in that scenario, Paul scores a try in the last minute instead of knocking on the ball on the try line. It becomes 30-25. And then we have a different conversation about the game, about missed opportunities, etc. But this was weird. This was a weird game to watch. I really feel it's almost like the Gasfontein Paarl Gym game, where I'm just like, what did I just watch? What just happened? And this is why I love watching this game, the school rugby game, is because you don't know what's going to happen. I think anybody that can say that they know about school rugby, and there's a couple of pundits I've spoken to and a couple of guys whose website I read, who actually believed that Paarl Boys were definitely the favourites. So I'm not the only one. Like when I spoke to one of one of my sources, let's call them, I said I wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw. I don't want to be a fence sitter, but I thought to myself, this would be a game where it'd be like 21-18, and in the last minute, Grey College gets a penalty, kicks it over 21-21. I never ever call draws. I never ever, but I already had I had a feeling that this would be a draw. Nobody in the country can tell me that they predicted 34 points win over here. This was immense for Grey College. And it's a major reason why they are one of the best rugby schools in the country, guys. They can just pull results like this out of nowhere. 37 points to 3. I still can't believe it. Anyway, well done to the boys from Blim. You guys should be proud of yourself. And for the Paarl Boys, guys, keep your heads up. I mean, you are a much better team than this scoreline suggests. And, you got a great group of players, a great group of guys, and I think you guys will come back stronger. I really do believe it. Look what happened with Grey when they lost to Paarl Gym. They've come back stronger. I think the same thing will happen with Paarl Boys. I think they'll come back stronger. And that means there'll be some immense games on the Wildlands this year. That I'm sure of. Okay, the other game I managed to catch was Paarl Gym against Roos, 25 points to 10. Very interesting game. Very, very interesting game. Some guys might point to Paarl Gym weren't as efficient as they were in previous games, but perhaps they weren't as efficient because Roos didn't allow them to be as efficient. I really saw this as a very equally matched in terms of playing personnel, in a sense, in that the Roos backline is looking very, very good. I forget the young man's name, but their centre is just built like a brick. You know what the word is. And Lorenzo Julius at fullback is something special as well. The front rankers are something special as well. So I think Roos are going to be a dark horse this year, and they'll definitely ruffle a couple feathers. But in terms of talking about the Paarl Gym team, the first guy I need to talk about is this Logan Opperman kid. The hype is real, guys. The hype is very much real. This kid is something exceptional, and he's in grade 11. So it's frightening to think what he's going to be doing next year. I saw this young lighty hand off a giant number 8. I rewound and I watched that a couple of times. I'm like, no, that must be some special effects rubbish over there. I didn't see that happen. And I watched it over and over. Yes, I did see it. I couldn't believe my eyes. You guys really need to take a look at this game on YouTube, and just for that moment, a lighty like that. Like, it just shows you how much power this guy's got relative to his size. He's an immense player. He's gonna go so far in this game, and the hype is definitely real. And then I have to talk about Philip Albert van Niekerk at inside centre, who I think is someone that deserves equal amount of praise just for the amount of work he puts in. This guy operates like another loose forward. You don't want to get tackled by him because he'll nail you at the breakdown. He doesn't care who comes towards him. He's solid as a rock, and he just looks outstanding. And now, I mean, Liam couldn't be spoken about a heck of a lot as well. Just looks like he belongs on the field. He's like a sniper with those passes. He just knows how to pick out his man. High rugby IQ. I mean, imagine like having one of the most accurate kickers, in rugby as your father, and then have him to be able to groom you into the player, into almost a perfect fly half. I've seen some outstanding performances from him. And then, their front row, their tight 5 in general has been outstanding. Loose forwards have been outstanding. So while this wasn't a dramatic victory for Paarl Gym, it was a solid victory, and they are definitely the team to beat this year. And the frightening thing is, a lot of these guys are grade 11 and they're going to be coming back next year. It's absolutely frightening. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I mean, I think this could be one of the best teams we've seen since the Grey College team of 2007, if they carry on this way. I mean, really, really special young talents in that team. And unlike a lot of other players that have got this level of talent, they don't like the limelight. They don't like all the attention, all the rest of it. They just want to play the game and do their work. But like I said to a couple of them, once you reach into open rugby, you're in my territory, and I will be covering you. So you better get used to the limelight. Anyway, moving on. I managed to catch the Southern Suburbs derby. Speaking to some guys in the know, because obviously, guys, it's very hard for me to cover every area of rugby. So speaking to some guys in the know, they were talking 20-25 point win for Bishops over here. And as you can see, this wasn't the case. I think Bishops have got some outstanding individual talent. They still play that beautiful Bishops rugby, and they played well, and it's very easy on the eye. Bishops rugby is beautiful once it's executed, beautiful to watch. Wes Chetty and his Chargers, they're always going to play rugby that's easy on the eye. And I think while Sax might not play that expansive, creative game and all the rest of it, they develop in their own style of rugby. And I really like what I'm seeing in Sax. In this game, I think they really took it to the Bishops forwards, and they really tried their best to close down space. I think they identified Suleiman as one of the danger men, and they really closed down space. And I think it was a very, very mature performance from the Sax team. They didn't get overwhelmed by the occasion. I think this might have been their first match of the season, even if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they really do look like a mature outfit. And while on paper you might not say like this is a team full of superstars, there is some outstanding talent there. I really like Philisande Ngobo as their centre, for example. I think he's definitely a player with a bright future. And also I really like the look of their lock now. So hard to memorize all these names. I don't take notes. I literally just do recordings and see how it goes. So I'll be writing down names in the future. But yeah, like there are some some guys that are definitely pleasing on the eyes in terms of their playing ability. And then Bishops, I mean, goes without saying, Nazir Cock, an outstanding game. I think Con, his link-up play was absolutely outstanding. Suleiman Hartzenberg is always going to be doing well. But then special mention to the rookie, Sherwood, I think his name is. Well, this kid's the real deal. I mean, he definitely looks outstanding. And, Bishops are one of the few schools that actually bothered to get back in touch with me when I asked them questions, because I do want to know more things. And they were talking about Sherwood as one of the rookies this year to keep an eye on, and they weren't wrong. This kid looks like the real deal, and I think he's going to grow into an immense player. And the thing that's really surprising me, the more I delve into the results and taking a look at the schools, etc., what I'm really seeing here is an almost golden generation of grade 11s. I think the grade 12s are fantastic. I'm taking nothing away from them. They're one of the stronger groups in the last 5 years. But this grade 11 group is something very special there. I mean, there is some outstanding talent over there. And I think SA schools next year is going to be absolutely immense. So just some upcoming fixtures to keep an eye on. Uffies against Grey College. Uffies are really going to have their back against the wall in this game, guys, on paper. But they're a school with character, and they're a school with pride. And I just hope that they can iron out those kinks in their game against Grey, because if they can't, it might be a long afternoon for them. I think they are due a big game. And like I said, I really have this feeling that once Uffies decide to click, they're going to click, and then they'll do very well this season. I think we're going to look at them as a completely different team in the late season compared to the early season. But if they don't manage to pull out the stops, Grey College could really brutalize them, and I don't want to see that. This is a school with too much pride and a prestigious history, and I just hope that they manage to pull it off this game and make it as competitive as possible. Yeah, Jansing, it's help mekaar. Jansies are looking brutal this year. Help mekaar, I think they'll even admit that they haven't played to their full ability. But again, this is a chance for them. Gasfontein is Monument. This is going to be immense. This is going to tell us a lot about what's happening in the rugby season in terms of the rankings and all the rest of it, and our ability to benchmark. Menlo Park against Waterkloof. I think that's going to be an epic game as well. Keep an eye on that one. Grey High versus Queens. I think after the result of the weekend with St Andrews winning, I think Queens will like their chances, but definitely never discount Grey High. They've got some very, very talented players in that team. Kingswood against Hudson Park. I'm really looking forward to seeing this one, because I know there's some outstanding players in the Kingswood team, and then Hudson I definitely want to basically make a statement on the southern scene. So really looking forward to that game. Marlow against St Andrews I think is going to be very epic in terms of the Eastern Cape. Marlow, a bit of an unknown quantity. They've produced some great teams over the years. They've been unfortunately poached to Hallenbeck by some larger schools, but this year's team I'm told is quite special. And St Andrews are going to be riding high after their result against Grey High, so this is going to be an immense one. Bishops against Paarl. This is something I'm really looking forward to. I'll definitely watch this game, obviously because it's this will give you an idea of the relative strength of the southern suburbs this year against the Wineland schools. Same as Boland Landbou versus Sax. I think Sax haven't beaten Boland Landbou in a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I don't have the results in front of me. But I definitely think it's an opportunity for Sax to claim a scalp over here against one of the powerhouses of South African school rugby. Then other Wineland schools, Paarl Boys are going to be playing Rondebosch, and then Paarl Gym against Wynberg. And, Bosch just had a loss to Wynberg 19 points to 5 over the weekend. So they're going to be up against with Paarl Boys. But I think this will only, raise up their game. And then Paarl Gym against Wynberg. I can't wait to see the Wynberg centre combination against the Paarl Gym centre combination. I think we're going to, Philip Albert van Niekerk and Kleinhans are going to learn a lot about themselves when they have to come up against Ebenezer Chimanga. And it's going to be good for their development, and it's going to be good for Ebenezer as well to test himself against this quality Paarl Gym backline. So finally, let's get into the top 10. Again, guys, I probably need another week or maximum 2 weeks just to sort of be able to benchmark properly in terms of my scoring system, which I will link in the bio once I've done an official one. What I mean by an official one is that I will rank the school, then I'll have in the right hand column here I'll basically have their points, and I'll have an explanation about how I do it, but I still need a bit more time. Normally this time of the year, when I've done the ranking system according to my own personal system, it's the season starts in March or April, so by now it's very easy to categorize schools into different categories that are required for my ranking system. And I'll not say it's a perfect system, but it's what I work with. But anyway, let's get into the top 10 right now. Again, don't take this too seriously. It's purely opinion based. There's no statistics behind it. So in 10th place, went with Bishops. think they've produced some very good results in terms of their southern suburbs games they've played so far, and I think next week it's definitely going to be a chance for them to step up and show they do belong in the big leagues. Ninth place, Ege Janssen, haven't, besides Grey College, haven't played what you'd call like top level schools, but I think they definitely deserve a place in the top 10 so far. And they were one of my dark horses this year, so I do believe that they do a big season. I think they could even climb up the rankings with one or two good results. But I definitely think in the northern region, they've definitely got a chance to at least secure like a Versieke Beker trophy or something like that. I do think this is their best chance in many years. Eighth place, Monument. I think they expected more of themselves in terms of the results against Paarl Boys and Stellenberg, but after their win over the weekend, I think they're slowly getting their confidence back, and I think we'll definitely start seeing them make some movement up the rankings. Very, very great players. I think they've got 4 or 5 players in the EPD, and on paper, definitely they should be higher. 7th place, win of Stellenberg. Obviously, that loss against Oakdale ended their unbeaten run at the beginning of the season, so to speak. And Oakdale quality outfit, so that wasn't a disgrace in terms of the scoreline, and they did beat Monument, and they are playing some attractive rugby. I think Damien Marcus is an absolutely wonderful player, and I won't stop speaking about this kid. I think he's really something special. 6th place, went to the Outeniqua. They didn't play over the weekend, but they still have been immense in the games that I have seen them play, although you can't really say they've been tested in a major way so far. 5th place, I went with Roos. I thought they were outstanding against Paarl Gym compared to the other teams that have played Paarl Gym. I like what I see in that team, and I like what I saw in the field against Paarl Gym, and I think they definitely are in contention to at least be a top 5 school this year. They are looking good, and as I said, keep a very close eye on Julius, that fullback. He's looking really good. 4th place, Paarl Boys. You remember the first ever ranking what we did, the top 10, we had them at number 1, so they've dropped 3 places after their loss against Grey College. First loss of the season, but it was a significant loss. But it's going to set up a very interesting scenario if they do manage to beat Paarl Gym in the inter-schools. It's going to throw the whole ranking system out of sync, so we'll see what happens. 3rd place, Oakdale. Great victory over Stellenberg. Stellenberg on no slouches this year, and what a team Oakdale have this year. Is truly a generational team. I think players like Kleinons, Leroux, Hienis, Golden, De Villiers, all these young kids, we're going to be talking about them a lot, not only now, but in the future as well. This is truly a generational team for Oakdale and a very special year. And there's no reason why they couldn't end up number 1 in the rankings this year. I can't wait to see them play against some of the major teams. And then 2nd place, I went to the Grey College. Immense win over Paarl Boys this weekend. Just the one loss to, obviously, our number 1 team, Paarl Gym. And I don't think there can be any arguments over there in terms of, at least the top 4 so far. But we'll try and get into the official side of things as soon as possible, guys. But thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the video. Let me know what games you're looking forward to watching this weekend, what your predictions are. And, we are working on a Team of the Month scenario. So we will put that out to vote, in the next 2-3 weeks. And don't forget to send us your nominees. And also, we are going to be doing some articles on players that are under the radar that we should be keeping an eye on to try and give exposure to as many young players as possible. So if you got any players in mind, don't forget to head over to our website and send us an email. Just leave a comment down below. And, we'll be happy to give any young guy exposure. And even if you're a young player that you yourself believe you deserve exposure, we're more than happy to do that. So just drop us a message anytime. We're very open, and we're all about trying to help you guys secure something after school for those of you that don't have an agent. And obviously in the near future we will be doing a video on options available to young players after they leave school, especially those outside of the traditional means in terms of going to the local unions and all the rest of it. But as always, don't forget to click that subscribe button as well as bell notification. That really does help us when you subscribe. And then also if you smash the like, that helps us as well. And as always, guys, have a great week further. Cheers. Bye.